instead of doing what I did before and trying to stream as I create it, I'm just creating things, and then after I get a solid working format of whatever I'm working on, I am just going to go over it and show some changes that I made and things that I've done to get it working. So right now I have added a little bit of stealth stuff to my system. Um, as you can see, I can crouch down and hide. I'm using this, what is this, sound? I got the name of it that fast. The sound presence. My memory is like awful. Pun noise emitter and the actual pun sense on the actual enemy to be able to detect sound now. So pretty much, depending on whether I'm walking and running, I am producing different sound levels. Um, I can actually like, whoops, he teleported over here. Ah, depending on the sound levels I make, I can actually taunt him. Like I can whistle if I can sneak over here without him hearing me. Let's see. So he heard that. He's going to be coming over here. He'll go into a reaction state that will pause him for a while and give me a chance to get away from where I just taunted him. And after he pretty much gets to where he was, he'll investigate the area about 3 times before losing interest. And actually, I think I'm in the wrong game mode to show off the other thing because I don't show the HUD for the actual enemy in this mode. Let me see if I can change that dynamically. Let's see. Switch it to open world. Not load. That was dumb. Very brilliant of me. Let's see. Go in here, change it to open world. Save changes. Alright, so now that should enable me to be able to see his HUD when he gets within a range. So there we go. So now I should be able to see a little exclamation point because I'm like, hey, what's going on over here? And I think he just saw me, so I ruined that whole thing. Don't you love it when AI doesn't do predictable things? And for some reason, I walked when I hit play and was falling off the world. All right, let's try this again. Try number 357. Okay, so stealthy stuff. And not messing anything up because I am a pro at streaming. Or at least 3 times the charm. So if I come out over here, why does he reset his position? Please go away. It would be easier if I had a way to kill him, but I don't right now because I'm trying to do some changes in the way I attack. I'll just go over here before he teleports back to his home point. He must be getting stuck over there on some kind of nav mesh removal that I did. So now you can't hear me that far. Come on. Alright, so now he hears me. He's going to come over here and investigate. Hopefully he goes that way. He doesn't see anything. He's going to investigate the area. Now if I get up and run right now, he's going to be able to hear me and come over to where I am. See, that's where he just heard me. Got to update the location. So now he's going to be looking around the area. I was just walking around. We'll call him over here. You should go to where I was just at. And the idea behind this is I'm going to have it to where I can sneak up and get a ambush attack for battles, things like that. I don't have that implemented yet, but that's going to be the idea. So I should be able to lure him over here, come up behind him, and stab him back. He really heard that. But, alright, enough with that. I have some other things I'm working on now too. I can go over that in a few minutes. But for the most part, the only thing I've done so far is I've added the sneaking state. This pretty much just goes in between a sneak idle and a prone state. And when I move, whether I am prone or crawling or sneaking, should I say, I'm going to activate only one of these. I've only implemented the actual sneak because I haven't needed the prone yet. If I go over here, here's where I have all the information for whistling. Pretty much 50% of the time I'll do one whistle or the other, and I produce a 5 loudness. You can play around that to get greater distance for your whistle or lower distance. The only thing that's required is you have to have a pun noise emitter on your character, and then on the other enemy you have to have the pun sensing. Let's see, down here I have my toggle states for my sneak, and pretty much all I do is enable that mode, enable my current walk mode so I can keep track of it, and then I can change my speeds depending on the, well, with me I was trying to match it to the animation, so depending on the animation or depend on what speed you actually want your walk to do, you can change that there. And then enable crouch, and what that does is it will, when you go into crouch mode, depending on your settings inside of your character setup, it will actually lower your, it will squish your capsule component, and that'll let you go under things that you couldn't go under before, as long as your, you know, your animation updates properly, so you're not walking through a wall and things like that. And then I have to update the camera boom so the camera goes down with the character as well. I think there's something that's already built in for that, but since I have a custom camera set up, I had to just manually do that based on the state that I'm actually operating on. As for the movement detection, right now I just take the absolute value of my velocity, and whichever one is the highest, I check to see if that's over a threshold. And if I'm over that threshold, then create a different loudness value for me moving. So I can increase this and he can hear me moving at a greater distance, which is probably why I couldn't get him to hear me earlier when I was trying to move around, because I've been playing around with this value. But if you want them to hear you more or for a longer distance, then you can play with the loudness value to make your noise that you're creating go out longer, wider, greater distance, one of those words that are English. Other than that, that's the changes for the actual basic hero character, I think. Let me see. Everything else is the same. This is not needed. I was trying to manually move the capsule myself, but there's a lot of other calculations that's needed, as well as adjusting your mesh, your main mesh when you squish the capsule, because otherwise your character just, it'll start falling through the base of your character will start falling through the floor, because it looks like the only thing the capsule is doing is squishing inward towards the middle. So if your character is here, suddenly the thing that's using for collision moves up, and then that causes your character to move down. So I think that's what crouch and uncrouch does for you. And since I don't need prone yet, I don't need to go in and calculate my own calculations for that operation, pretty much. Um, so over into the AI mob, this was already here before. It's pretty much if the pawn sensing sees the character, it's going to make sure that it does see the actual PC character and adds it to the stack. I'm going to have to add a visual detection when I actually get this over on the AI side to make sure I can visually see the PC hero, because even though it may be in the sensor, um, what I need to check to see if it's actually a trace to it. Because right now, even if I'm inside the little crawl hole, whatever you want to call that, crawl space, the enemy can still see me if I'm like right at its feet. I mean, technically, if someone's right there, you should be able to see it, but I want to at least make sure that on a visual trace, it can see me before it detects me and starts chasing after me, pretty much. Just to make this a little bit cleaner. Here's where I have the noise detection. Um, if we're in alert, then I shouldn't do reiteration of hearing the sound. It should just update the actual sound location. So that way, if it's moving towards the sound to investigate where it was or to look in that area for something that it heard, it can just update the location instead of going through the alert pause and pausing the character and saying, hey, what's over there, before it moves. Speaking of which, this is what I'm saying, where it hears something, it comes in here, it gets the last heard location, and then starts the AI to move over towards the react to detection. And what the react to detection does is it will come over here. If the timer is 0, then we're going to initialize the reaction timer. And this reaction timer is just pretty much how long the AI is going to pause before it goes to investigate where the area is. So if you look at like Metal Gear Solid or Breath of the Wild and things like that, that's when you see the question mark or the exclamation point appear over the head, and the enemy pauses for a second before actually doing something about what they just heard. So that's the reaction time state that I made right here. So this will interrupt their current movement, stop the character if they're trying to walk to a destination or whatever. It will set a number. Right now it's just hard coded for a investigation pass. And what the investigation pass is going to be is after we react to the sound and we go over to the place of the sound, the AI will look around that area to see if they can find something. If not, then they're going to go back to their original patrol area. But during that whole time, they're going to be in alert mode. And they're going to pretty much start off by looking at the place where they heard the sound. So if the player's standing there and they turn around, they're going to see the player and they're going to scan them and add them to their sight detection. After our reaction time is expired, because right now I think I have it to 2 seconds. I think I had it 3 seconds before. It felt a little bit better, but whatever. Pretty much after that 2 seconds expires, we're going to reset the fact that we can hear something over again. So this I might have to change, because right now what this means is if I do something, if I whistle again after they react and start moving towards the area, then since they are no longer, since I've already reset the heard reaction, that means if I whistle again, they'll go into a react mode and pause for 2 seconds, which I don't technically want, but it's just something I'm playing around with. Excuse me. And then pretty much here, do the same thing I did before. Is I set up the where they're going to move to for the last destination. I set up the position so I can detect. I set up their current position so I can detect whether the AI is stuck or not, and I reset the stuck timer before going into moving, and then this just moves the AI to that location. So pretty much while they're moving, if they're in alert status, then they get a faster movement speed. So they're hustling a little bit more to go investigate the area they're looking in. It will also scan for visual detection and audio detection as well. So that way, if you're moving while it's going to your area to investigate the sound, then they can hear it and react to that sound and get the actual updates for the sound location. So if we're in alert status, then we're going to come up here, and then the logic will change based on whether we're doing uh, uh, an investigation pass, or if we're doing that initial go to the location where I heard the sound. So if we're currently, again, hard coded numbers, which is terrible, but if pretty much we haven't done anything to start investigating, we're going to go directly to the place where we heard the sound. So if this updates, it's going to go to the updated last known sound location before it gets to its initial pause and look at the area where it last heard a sound. After that, we're going to come in and we're going to start pretty much decrementing our remaining passes somewhere. Oh, that's done in waiting. I'm in moving right now. So this is just going to head to this location until we've gotten to our destination. And then once we've gotten to our destination, then we're going to go back to our waiting state. I need to move this up. So this just clears alert status. Pretty much this section right here is just, if we're done with our investigation passes, we clear our alert status and then go back to our regular routine of, just patrolling around areas. So if it was following a path, they'll go back and follow that path that you've set up. If it's a random movement, it'll go back to that random movement. Which brings us to waiting. So pretty much while we're waiting, which is after we've gotten to the location or in our in location, if we don't see anything and we don't hear anything, then if we have any remaining investigation passes, then we're going to go and, after our wait timer has expired, we're going to pick a random location within that radius that I last heard the sound and have the AI just pretty much move to those locations and decrement its render pass. I mean, not render pass. Investigation pass. So that way you can add a little bit of intelligence with a little bit of feedback to the player to know that, hey, the enemy's still around, is looking for you, is looking in this big area for you or this small area, depending on how you want to set it up. I really hate hard-coded numbers, so I'm just trying to figure out better ways of setting this up. This may actually be a variable that comes from the actual mob. So if I actually place a monster by itself in the area, I can just come in and change the area that it will scan around to be able to look for the enemy. I think that's all I have for that effect. I'm like, it's not much code. I'm like, it's pretty straightforward for most part. I just tried to this is just the way I've been trying to like show my game dev process, because before it seems like I spent most of my time trying to figure out what I was doing versus someone actually trying to learn stuff from me, or just people that are interested in what I'm doing. It just seemed more entertaining to have the stuff done already and just show it off, saying, "Hey, this is how I did this crap." So I don't know if it helps anybody. Let me know. One thing I'm also working on right now, if I can move this out of the way from it compiling. Come on. One thing I'm trying to work on now is having battle arena transitions. So I've been like debating if I want an open world battle or actually like teleport into a battlefield. So I've made the decision I'm just going to teleport to the battlefield because of the sneak mechanic, and I'm going to have special things that happen if you actually land a sneak mechanic with different party members and things like that. But when that does happen, I'm going to use these battle arena transfer areas that can set up different things. So right now I have the island and the battle arena version of that, which is right now just a basic boxed in area for you to spawn in at certain locations. Well, for the arena to put you at certain spawn locations, depending on, you know, whether you have if you're starting a normal fight, if you're ambushing the enemy, or if you're being ambushed by the enemy, and it's placing you at certain parts in the field that will give you either more time to react or less time to react, or being surrounded by enemies. So the enemies will be right. The party will be right here, and the enemy will be here. If you ambush, the enemy will be in the center, and your party members, if there's enough of them, will be surrounded on both sides. Or if there's not many, I'm also thinking about this as well. If there's not those many people on your party, like at the beginning of the game, then an ambush can also be the fact that the enemies are here and you're further away from it to give you better field advantage. But I'm also going to try to see if I can have it to where the think timer is paused for a while for an ambush, so that way the enemies won't react to you and the battle until you've already started to grind into them, pretty much. But this little thing is what I'm using to set up the different links for what your current level is and the battle area is, so that way it will hide one level and stream in the other one. And then also vice versa, once the battle is over, it's going to transition you back. If you want a different battle theme for the different area, I've added that in here so I can pull that into the battle arena code. Because right now, if I can find it, I think it's on the props. I think I put like every smart object under props. If I can read props. So right now, the battle arena is, I think I could just throw it out here. It doesn't show anything. Well, there you go. Okay. So the battle arena is what I had before, was what I was using to be able to encapsulate the character within like a little grid area. And I think I can't see it because I'm on none lit. Yes, because that made it better. It didn't really. But before, I would just capture the character and any monsters that were within this arena size, and pretty much you had to kill every monster that was within that area to be able to get out. So since that's kind of a non-standard thing, and it just didn't work well with the environments, so I'm gonna have this instead. I'm gonna rework it to use this battle area transfer, so that way it can give me the same battle transition but a little bit better, because I'm going to be using Chameleon plugin in the marketplace to be able to do battle transitions, and a whole bunch of other kind of visual effects. But I'm going to rework this to be able to use the battle transfer to be able to transfer me into a battlefield, and then after the battle, transfer me from the battlefield back into the area I was in before. And since for the most part that does everything I need to do already, I can just use that and modify it and work from what I've already created. So that should be able to work just fine for what I'm working on. Hopefully I can finish that today. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's going to be that much of work to do. The only other thing I'm going to have to do as well is part of the stealth mechanic stuff is I'm going to need to be able to scan through walls. Let me delete this. So I can see the enemy through a wall. I also need to make it to where I can't see his battle information while I'm hiding. So I lost my train of thought. And it sounds like work is trying to call me already. But just like this, where I can see them through the wall, I wanted to be able to actually use my scan ability to scan and see the enemy through the wall. Um, but that's just another part of mechanic. Hopefully I can finish that today or tomorrow or something like that, and do another video on that. Um, I think that's all I can think of right now to show off for what I've done so far. All in all, it's fun to actually get in and actually start working on some actual code instead of trying to figure out how you're going to do animations for the rest of your life. Um, but oh well, that's it. And if there's any more questions that anybody have, post up and I'll answer what I can and things like that. Have a good day.